Hi, good morning to everyone. Welcome to THG News Today with Mervyn Henley. The news, of course, is sponsored by Carl & Sons on St. Martin, Carl & Sons Unique Bakery, with 3 locations on the island and Ephesus on Nevis. It's a pleasure to be in your company this morning. If you have not done so already, we ask that you subscribe to our network's channel so you can be kept abreast on what's happening in and around the Caribbean and in the diaspora. Now, this morning, we're going to begin with news out of Miami in relation to the former Premier of the British Virgin Islands. That's Andrew A. Fahie. Theresa Van Vloot, the attorney for former Premier of the British Virgin Islands, Andrew A. Fahie, urged the Miami court to impose the mandatory minimum sentence of 10 years for his involvement in a drug and money laundering scheme. The recent court filing follows Fahie's conviction in February, where he was found guilty on multiple counts, including conspiracy to import cocaine and engage in money laundering activities. Fahie faced serious accusations involving arrangements to use the Tortola port as a transit point for drugs destined for Miami. During the trial, the evidence presented depicted Fahie as actively participating in schemes to exploit his political position, allegedly agreeing to allow the narcotics through the BVI in exchange for hefty sums of money, starting with a $500,000 initial payment. The agreement was part of a sting operation involving Fahie, former BVI Ports Director, that's Olivine Maynard, and her son, Kadim Maynard, conspiring with an undercover DEA agent. Despite arguments from the defense about the lack of definitive evidence of cocaine or any substances transported, the jury's decision led to Fahie's conviction. The defense's motion for a lesser sentence was rooted in what they describe as Fahie's limited understanding and a minor role in the overall scheme. Despite the serious nature of the charges, Fahie's counsel argued that his life's work and contribution to society, particularly in education and community service in the British Virgin Islands, should be considered when deciding his fate. So they're asking the judge for 10 years instead of possible 25, 30 years lifetime in prison. So we'll see how all this goes down in the month of August. And I hope that whatever happens, THG Network will be soon after that, probably later on this year, will be able to sit down with the former Premier of the British Virgin Islands, Andrew Fahie, in an exclusive interview. Because I just have one question for him. Just one, maybe 2. What were you thinking? What were you thinking? A man who had everything going for him. What were you thinking? A man who was the envy of many of the other Caribbean islands and some of the politicians and leaders. You were on your way to greatness. What were you thinking? You say in your defense in the Miami court that you were playing detective. You were just pretending so you can arrange for an arrest of the persons you suspected who were setting you up. That's what you said. You were playing detective. So you did all of this elaborate scheme to arrest someone. What were you thinking? And I like Fahie. I do. I was rooting for him. I pushed him. I promoted him because he was doing good. He started to do some great things for the BVI. And then and I like a fighter. He is a fighter. Stood up to the British. But yes, all that is good. But then you have this in front of us. A case matter. What were you thinking? Let's move on. Out of Antigua and Barbuda, and this is some good news for the people of not only Antigua and Barbuda, but the Caribbean. And I know that the Honorable Prime Minister Gaston Brown, I mean, he must be elated. And I can imagine the emotions when this actually takes place on the first day of LIAT 2020. So here goes. LIAT 2020's Chief Executive Officer, Hafsah Abdulsalam, is optimistic about the airline's plans to commence scheduled passenger flights before August this year, yes. During an exclusive interview with state media, she shared that the airline will initially have around 200 employees and will offer same-day connections from the northern to the southern parts of the region. The CEO emphasized the company's commitment to providing an exceptional customer service. She also congratulated the government of Antigua and Barbuda and her colleagues at LIAT on the progress they have made. The Antigua and Barbuda government has partnered with Airpeace, Nigeria's largest airline, to facilitate the operations of LIAT 2020. Over the weekend, the Prime Minister, the Honorable Gaston Brown, announced that the new LIAT 2020 airline had obtained its Air Operator's Certificate, that's the AOC. However, he expressed frustration with the Caribbean Development Bank's slow response in vetting the sales agreement for the planes, which is delaying the airline's return to operation. The Antigua and Barbuda government has offered to purchase 3 aircraft from the CDB, and Brown is urging a timely resolution to the sales agreement situation. LIAT 2020, the brainchild of Brown, aims to provide much-needed intra-regional and extra-regional air services in the Caribbean. And there you had it. So once this sale goes through, which will be any day now, I mean, yes, it's slow, but it will happen sooner than later. LIAT will be in the air. That will be such a great thing, especially on time since that the headquarters will be in Antigua, especially for the Antigua Carnival. Yeah, and other carnivals around the Caribbean at that time. So that is good news for the people. I know that Prime Minister Gaston Brown, he was like a man in the wilderness. He fought this tooth and nail when other Caribbean leaders, they wanted nothing to do with another LIAT. And Gaston said, no way, LIAT has to be the Caribbean airline. We have to bring back LIAT. You know, I admire this guy, and say what you want about him. He's a fighter. And he has persevered to the end. And here he is in just about 4 to 6 weeks. The same LIAT Caribbean leaders wanted nothing to do with. It's coming on stream. And we have to give Jack his jacket. And that jacket goes to the Honorable Prime Minister of Antigua and Barbuda, Gaston Brown. And finally, in our news this morning, the Grenada government said it intends to pursue civil and criminal proceedings against a former government minister who racked up a telephone bill of more than 100,000 EC dollars during the period July 2016 to July 2019. Remember the years that I'm giving you here. July 2016 to July 2019, a telephone bill of 100,000 EC dollars. Attorney General and Legal Affairs Minister Claudette Joseph told a news conference that the matter against Sheldon Scott, who served as a senator from 2013 to 2016, is being pursued because he failed to stop using a mobile telephone that was issued to him in his capacity as parliamentary secretary in the office of the Prime Minister following the 2013 general elections. On demitting office without authorization or permission, and in breach of the conditions under which the mobile phone was issued, Mr. Scott retained it and unlawfully used it for his personal or other purposes. During such unauthorized use, the government continued to pay the service provider. The government continued to pay the service provider. Let me continue to read this story because I have something to say about this nonsense. Digicel, for all charges incurred, said that they can safely conclude and publicly state that the leak of the government associates bill did not originate from within the operations of Digicel Grenada. And Scott, in his statement after the so-called scandal broke, accepted full liability and responsibility for all charges incurred on the number that was assigned to him and promised to repay. However, the Attorney General told reporters on Monday that no payment was made to the government. His charges between July 3rd, 2016 to July 2nd, 2019, so over a 3-year period, $115,393.32. No. As I end today's program, sometimes when I read certain news items, I just have to shake my head. Because if you as a government, you realize that someone is out there abusing, according to you, using a telephone, running up a bill to 25,000, 50,000, 60,000, 70,000. That's why you have permanent secretaries and auditors and this and that. 80,000, 90,000, 100,000. And you not one day call up Digicel and say to Digicel or instruct the company or write an official letter to them from the Prime Minister's office to cancel this account because it's a government's account. So what nonsense. The Attorney General is going to sit there in a press conference telling people that this man ran up a bill. But you guys could have stopped it. Whether this new government or the previous government, they could have stopped, they could have cancelled it. They could have disconnected it. So you let the man bill run up and then you're going to want to make noise to score political points, just to embarrass him. Okay, you embarrass him. But the government did not stop it and they could have easily. When you have a big whole press conference about a man running up his telephone bill on government's tab for $100,000, when one telephone call and that phone would have been disconnected. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm done with the news for today. I ask that you join me tomorrow morning at 6 o'clock Atlantic Standard Time for a similar presentation. And on a programming note, and let me get the dates here for you because I don't want you to be looking for the news in that time. We know that there are a number of celebrations taking place throughout the Caribbean, especially in the last week of July, leading to the first week of August. We know that there is carnivals in a number of islands in July, from Barbados to Angola to Antigua and Barbuda to Nevis and other Caribbean islands. They have festivals going on. And I believe that THG Network will be covering some of these events. So let me say to you now that we will run the news up until July 31st, but between August 1st and August 12th. And it's not even vacation. It's just that we'll be out there as well covering. And so we know that it's going to be a busy period time with entertainment. So we'll be running the news up until July 31st. And then we'll be back on August 12th with THG News Today. So that's a programming note, and we'll keep reminding you because I know how some of you are. Until tomorrow, have a wonderful day, everyone. My name is Mervyn Hanley.
Sons have been serving the people of St. Martin for over 40 years, and the food and service get better and better. From early morning, customers flock to the bakery for their favorite sandwiches, cakes, pastries, you name it. First thing at mornings and last thing at afternoons, folks rush to Sons for simply the best. There are two locations, Colbay and on the Punfill. In Colbay, the opening hours are Monday to Friday from 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. On Saturdays, 6 a.m. to 5 p.m. And on Sundays, 6:30 a.m. to 10:30 a.m. and 2 p.m. to 5 p.m. Opening hours on the Punfill, Monday to Friday, 6:30 a.m. to 6 p.m. Saturday and Sunday, 6:30 a.m. to 1 p.m. We also cater for weddings, parties, special events, whatever the occasion. It's Sons. Our staff, we are always happy to serve you. Call us today, the Colbay location, 721-544-2462. That's 721-544-2462. Or in Phillipsburg, 721-543-1059. That's 721-543-1059. It's Sons Bakery. We are here to serve you. Nevis, satisfy your sweet tooth at Feaser's, the cozy spot in Charlestown, known for its mouth-watering ice cream and dal parade. We are open Monday to Saturday, 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. Come in and sample our patties, sandwiches, air-fried wings with fries, hot dogs, rotis, and now our famous smoothies, in all flavors of course. And don't forget to try the famous bus-up shut and saltfish. It's Feaser's, located at the entrance to the Cotton Ginnery Mall in Charlestown, Nevis. They're also available by phone, so place your order by calling 1-869-665-2458. Don't ask about the rest, just try the best.